Hey, this is your friendly neighborhood Manny Moonraker. This is episode number 201, and actually, I'm back at the home base trying out the new microphone again. Did some adjustments. Now I'm probably too damn loud, to be honest with you guys. You're probably going to be like, shit, turn it down. Turn it down a notch, for the love of Pete. Hopefully the mic still sounds good. It sounds great. I got some good news also, by the way. We got some people lined up for April. Those Truth Seeker interviews are going to be exciting. Got a few people who threw their name in their hat. And actually, there is someone who is I would say a retired professional wrestler who also may be making an appearance in those interviews. I'm not sure. He sent me an email and I sent one back. So we're talking about it because he has his own perspective on the topic of ufology that he wants to talk about. And it might be something fascinating to talk about. Listen, once you're a pro wrestler, I mean, you're cool no matter what. So we're going to see what he has to share with us. And I think it's going to be a good talk and a good way to get some information out to the folks. In the meantime, before we get into this topic for today, this news article, I want you guys to remember that the best way to stay in contact with me would be through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Twitter at UFO Buster Radio, on Instagram at Manny Moonraker, and the Facebook pages UFO Buster Radio and Manny Moonraker. And don't forget, if you enjoy the podcast, you want to share it, you want to retweet it, you want to get it out to your people so that we can get some more listeners on here and therefore get some more interviews done. So this news article, hey, I don't have the fancy news logo thingy. It's not up yet, but at least I was able to put together and get the original intro in here. So I know some of you guys are excited about that, but Ronnie Dawson said he liked the intros that I was using the last couple of days. Come on, Ronnie. You got to go with the original. That's the one everyone should be loving. You know what I mean? Loving it. Totally loving it. Just like that. Just like that, Ronnie. Come on. Work with me here. Anyway, it sounds like we should get into the news report, and I don't know. I don't have like a news report thing here, so let's do the thunder. By the way, you might be hearing Bugs the UFO Hunter walking around in the background somewhere because he is here and he's live on Spreaker for this episode. He's running around. Hopefully he doesn't come up here and lick his lovely naughty bits because that sound is not too friendly. Not something we like. So here's a news story for today for episode 201 of UFO Buster Radio News. New witness comes forward about the Pascagoula UFO incident and abduction 45 years later. Isn't this a son of a bitch? 45 years later. And when I tell you this link that's in the article here, if you guys go in there and check it out, there is a video of the new witness who actually gets to meet the original abductee. So this was reported from WLOX in Pascagoula. And you guys know the story, but for those of you who are not too clear on it, back on October 11th, 1973, Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson said while they were fishing on the Pascagoula River, a UFO pulled out of fucking nowhere and basically abducted them. Took them out of their little fishing trip, cut it short, and they went into some explanation of what happened, but they were just dropped off. They weren't taken away and sliced up like cattle. And there's a quote in here which comes from one of them, and it looks like it was Calvin Parker. It said, "It scared the living hell out of you. I still have a few nightmares about it. I really think that I was abducted by some kind of form from another planet, another life form." Listen, these are things 45 years ago, and what happened here was really fascinating because it turns out that on that night, or a night, that Maria Blair was out there with her husband, Jerry Blair. They were across the river. And apparently Jerry Blair was getting ready to leave on a boat to do some offshore work. And she was there at the edge of the river. And she saw what appeared to be a UFO hanging around the other side of the river, where, of course, we now know that Parker and Charles Hickson were. And she says there was a blue orb-looking UFO that was hanging around for about 30 minutes. It was silent. It was not something she recognized. But at first she did think that maybe it was an airplane or a helicopter back in 1973. Listen, right now, I can see these things being a little bit quiet now, but 1973, those things were loud as fuck, and you guys know it. There's a quote in here from her, and she says it was a warm night. It was like 73 in 1973. Are you kidding me, lady? And it was kind of easy to just sit in the car and wait for the captain to get there. And that's what Blair said. She says, you're looking up at the sky, looking at stars, the Big Dipper and things. That's when I saw it rise up in the sky. Where I saw it come up, the blue light was just right over where they were abducted. Now, she says that initially, when she saw it, she thought it was an airplane or helicopter, whatever. But the next day, she saw the story regarding Parker and Charles Hickson, and she kind of made the connection. But she never really came out and said anything. And there is a video here where, connected to this article, where she actually meets Calvin Parker. And for those of you who don't know, Hickson actually passed away already. Calvin Parker is the only one that's still alive. And he is in that interview, and he meets Maria Blair for the first time 45 years later. And they met face to face, and they kind of shared the experience with each other as far as what happened. So it is one of those things. In this particular interview, you're also going to see that the city of Pascagoula is even thinking about putting down like a historical marker where the abduction occurred. Fascinating story. 45 years later, we get this kind of like a full circle situation. And now, as we've been seeing, these stories are being embraced not only by local folks and scientists, but other people are finally saying, to hell with it. Let's just come forward. Let's talk about it. And she really feels that she was part of that story in some way, that she actually witnessed what was happening. You can't write this stuff. But, it goes without saying that you want to actually come and be a witness when the damn thing happens, not 45 years later. What the hell's going to happen now? These guys went through a whole lot of ridicule the whole time. What if Maria Blair the next day decided to contact that newspaper and say, I saw it? What an amazing thing it would have been if she would have corroborated their story when it happened, not 45 years later. Ufology is the thing, folks. It really is. And people are coming, like I say, out of the woodwork to talk about this stuff. But in this situation, it's great. He's got some kind of reassurance that he wasn't plumb fuck crazy. And really, it'd be hard to prove that they were both crazy. At best, people were thinking back at the time that they, make some story up that they were being abducted or whatever. When, here we go, we have a witness 45 years later, and probably would have been better stated and said and more supportive if she would have said something way back when in 1973 when she was standing outside and it was 73 degrees. It's a fascinating story. Check the link in the description. There is a video of the entire interview, and actually when they met each other, it's in there, and you can see when he talks about what happened and what he felt really occurred to him that day. And she explains what she was looking at, and they actually go to the spot where she was at the time that this incident happened. It's a great story. Check it out. It actually goes to WLOX's website where they have the video. In other news, the sports podcast is on the way, so you guys better get ready. It's going to be crazy. We have Truth Seekers ready to go for the YouTube interviews, and it's going to be a great challenge for me because, I'm not entirely technically savvy when it comes to YouTube, but I'm going to get it out there, and we are going to have a really good time, and we're going to talk about experiences, incidents, and things that affect people when it comes to this topic. This is the Saturday edition of the show because, the weekends, the weekdays are getting a little crazy when it comes to doing the podcast. But I got to say this. One other person that we're going to try to get on here before the end of April, it will be the one and only Big O. I think it's time the Big O made a return, even if it is for one show to the podcast, so that he can, put out his craziness to the world, because I'm sure he's been following UFOs in one way or another. But until then, all we got to say is, keep your eyes to the sky. Continue to share the podcast because it's only about to get better. It's going to get expanded. We're going to have people on here to talk some craziness. And if you don't already do it, don't forget to share it. It's Manny Moonraker. I am checking out. But I'll be back next week sometime. I just don't fucking know when. I just have no idea. My schedule's so crazy these days. But hopefully the mic sounds good because we're about to do some crazy shit in the next few months. Ciao.